Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where we're ringing in the opening bell for LCS Stock Market. The final buy period for the analysts. This is do or die time. It's where all the money is made or lost, gentlemen. But before we see where you're throwing all your weight behind this week, let's see where the LCS Stock Market stands, as well as your current portfolio values. There are some huge numbers coming into Week 9 for the LCS Stock Market. Freak at almost 8K. Whereas probably is the only person who's managed to lose money this split.
What did Freak do?
It's insane. This is the best I've ever had. I've never had 6,500 before, and somehow I don't feel good about it at all because everyone's killing it this split. I don't get it.
I love how all three of the guys who aren't on the desk are the ones who are up over.
Brawly's ruining our reputation.
No, it's not about the money. It's about the friendships.
That's what someone that's broke would say. That's what a broke person would say.
As you can tell from this chart, I am very broke. Yes, I've buried all my money in the backyard. I'm not investing this week.
And while we laugh about where all the analysts stand, I do want to point out our team standings as well, because for the first time since like week 1 of Spring Split, Cloud9 is not the top dog when it comes to the prices of the teams. Team Liquid has taken that title with Cloud9's most recent slips in the standing. But we've had essentially 15 weeks and 8 buy periods over the course of this entire year. Comes into this one final week, 2 games for each of your teams or your portfolios to make all the moves you want to make. Crumbs, you're the first one up. Where are you throwing your big bet?
So just like Mark, even though I'm 20% up on my starting amount, I still feel inadequate. So I went for Dignitas because they are the cheapest team, and they play a style of either not showing up to play a game whatsoever or actually trying. And I figured they lost one of those brutal games last week. They're going to show up again yesterday because we made these before the matches yesterday. And, well, Cloud9 was in a bit of a slump. And because of the way that the stock markets work, it would have been a big win. Dignitas still in playoff run, so I think the team actually has a little bit more gas left in the tank. That's why I went for them. Unfortunately, they already took that loss to Cloud9. But it was a close game, and hopefully they do that again with 100 Thieves.
I gotta say, I'm down with the line of logic that Crumbs was using. Like, Dignitas versus C9 was one of those really believable upsets, and it almost happened. It just didn't work out, and for me, I wasn't down to go that risky. You know, I feel bad about my 6,500, but not willing to totally throw it away. So I went 100 Thieves there. You saw they were also valued pretty low, but I think they have a much more winnable record coming up with these 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, on that point though, Crumbs, I want to jump back to you because I like the idea or the concept of the upside there that you have in terms of taking down a top team like Cloud9 while seeing Cloud9 struggle. Of course, the loss already came through, hoping to make up a little bit of that with the second game of the weekend for Dignitas. The big bet is 100 Thieves for Mark, but probably where do you fall?
I'm trying to get out of the red, and I'm just following Mark here. I thought 100 Thieves had a pretty solid schedule too. I think they're going to give enough money where I can break back into the 5,000. Like, I just want to be above where I started. I don't want to lose money. I'll gain like $5. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I got to say, like,
red. You're wearing red.
We're supporting 100 Thieves. I don't know what you're doing wearing red. But I was going to say, yeah, they're 2 games. Like, EG is slumping super hard. They were tied with C9 for being one of the worst records in the back half of the split. So, like, you know, that's a very very likely upset. And then Dignitas is a relatively, easy opponent. I do think Dignitas could easily win that one as well. But they do feel like they could go 2-0 and take down someone above them in the standings and give us a pretty large lead.
I got good and bad news for the 2 of you, Prowley and Mark. You both threw your weight behind 100 Thieves. Freak, our current leader, also chose to throw his weight behind 100 Thieves. So this does mean, unfortunately, you won't be able to catch him, but you are following suit with the current stock market leader. So if his trajectory is anything to be gleaned from, both of you will be lunging further up the standings there. I do want to go ahead, though, and know which teams, or now rather that we know which teams you guys have your eyes on. I want to focus in on some players that we'll keep tabs on in our players to watch this week. This week's players to watch are Golden Guardians, Huhi, FlyQuest, Ignar, EG's Huni, and 100 Thieves, Poome. Let's start with Golden Guardians, Huhi.
I gotta say, Huhi, I don't know. Dash, do you have a gavel or something? We need to go ahead and say this role swap has been a success. Like, bang the gong. He's had monster Bard games. Yesterday he had a monster Bard game versus TSM. He was, landing clutch findings and game-changing ultimates. And honestly, he's like one of the best Sett supports in North America. Not just that, but his laning skills are not too shabby. He's actually trading flashes with AD carries, creating so much space for FBI to grab all these stats. So I'm really happy that we have a support who's who role swapped and who's been successful on control mages and also these melee supports.
Makes me wonder what would have happened if they landed on Huhi earlier in the year and let him level up even beyond this.
Yeah, he hasn't even been there this whole time. So I think with the whole year of synergy, they would be in a better spot, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I'll look into getting a gavel as well, probably. Thanks for bringing that up. Let's talk about another support player who absolutely is key to victory for his squad. That would be FlyQuest Ignar. Mark?
Yeah, I'm super excited to see Ignar back in form again. There's that bit of a dip in the middle of the split when he was playing with Mashme, but I think ever since Turtle stepped back in, it has unlocked Ignar going aggressive again. He's one of the best playmakers in the support position. You always have to keep your eye on him. So many different champions in his pool as well. He's willing to try the riskier picks like the Pantheon. And so I'm really excited to see what he has in store heading into playoffs. They have a relatively easy strength of schedule here this week. So pick up a couple wins, style on kids while you do it, and then get ready for playoffs because he will be very important for their run to mirror the run that they had in spring to reach the finals.
Exactly. Those playoff highlights that we saw from where they beat TSM was all about that innovative combo of the Trundle Rakan that nobody seemed to have an answer, where it just set up Ignar to be an absolute monster on Engaged Champions. He's not playing Enchantress, he's just hardcore Engaged. He is the way that FlyQuest starts fights, and oftentimes he actually ends up delivering, which is really impressive.
Well, from one aggressive player to another, but this one on the top side of the map, let's talk about Evil Genius's Huni.
So, yeah. Huni, when he we had to because when he came to EG, we thought, all right, I guess he's going to play in Academy and eventually overtake Kuma, but we did not anticipate that it would come off a bit of a slump from the entire Evil Genius squad. So we're not really sure if Huni came in to replace a slumping EG or if this was part of the plan all along, but no matter what, he has been a really bizarre player to track because he looks better statistically when he's left on his own versus when given attention. It's almost like the more you try to play around Huni, the worse that the team ends up playing, whereas when you leave him alone on champions like the Gangplank or even the Rumble, then he's actually able to contribute to the team fights really well and still play his lane out safely. But because his champion pool hasn't been as eccentric as we know Huni can be, it's made EG fairly predictable with the addition of Golden Glue as a very stable mid laner. So I think that moving forward, they'll have to lean into Huni's carry potential and try to make it work because it's bonkers that you're playing strong side with somebody and that's how you lose.
Right, exactly. I mean, Huni is a veteran player with a very storied career. From here, I want to jump to a very rookie player, but who also has a career that's already kind of in flux, Mark. It's hard to nail down Poome. Let's talk about him.
Right, I think he's had this meteoric ascension into the LCS fast. It's like so fast, it's incredible to watch. But at the same time, he is still struggling a little bit. They're playing game one here, and so I have my eye on him because in wins he looks fantastic. And I know that KDA stats really reflect like if you're winning, they look good, and if they're bad, if you're losing, they look bad. But these are like so far apart.
This is wild.
This is definitely wild, and I think this shows his inexperience a little bit. When he falls behind, he struggles to stop the bleeding. He struggles to find his place in playing from behind in competitive play, and he just keeps dying. And it's something that is a skill that takes a little bit to learn, how to contribute to your team when you can't actually walk up and be the front line that you can when you're ahead. And so when he's ahead, he's playmaking. He's great. It's incredible. Once he dies a couple times, it keeps going on. He can get picked on pretty hard. And I think this is one of the areas he could improve on a lot, which I want to see considering they can actually still grab, the upper bracket playoff spot if they can take down EG. So they have a lot on the line in this weekend and heading into playoffs, and I think he's one of the key factors for them.
Yeah, night and day statistics in wins and losses. Let's get some win conditions on the board for these first two teams because they are the teams that you put your big bets behind for the stock market. So probably your first 100 Thieves. What's the answer?
So I'm going to go ahead and play towards 100 Thieves' strengths. I'm going to pick a strong mid-jungle duo, and I'm also going to attack Dignitas' strength, which is Dardoch. So I'm going to use the strong mid-jungle duo. I got Ssumday in the top lane. He's a great player, and I'm going to ban Riven in 4-5. So we're not worrying about that. I have a strong top, strong mid-jungle. I'm going to invade that, shut down Dardoch, and I'm going to be able to snowball the game off of that.
All right, 50 seconds to game time. Crumbs, what's the response for Dignitas?
If there's anything we've learned from Dignitas this way is that their strength, the best player to play around is Johnsun. Let Johnsun carry. Stop inting into him and carrying him to the Shadow Realm with you. I'm looking at mid laners. You know who you are. Secondly, give Viper the counter pick. You know they're going to play around topside. Let him handle Ssumday, and then just make sure you have multiple engage tools like you did against Cloud9. Same game plan will work against 100 Thieves. Survive early, good team fighting, dragon control. They got this.
Well, those are the recipes for success for each of our teams. We'll see which one decides to follow these smart dudes right here. It's time to hand it over to the casters to get ourselves into game one. Enjoy.
Welcome to the LCS Summer Split. I am FLICKR. Are you ready?
I can tell just by the inflection, like in your voice, that you're gonna do it again.
I know.
Yeah.
Every single time. I have a perfect track record of opening the casts on the day with that line. I am excited though. I always love the end of Summer Split because it means we've got so much going on. There's so many more stakes. It's a steakhouse here in the LCS. Can 100 Thieves give themselves the upper bracket? Can Dignitas grab themselves, at least temporarily, a playoff spot? It is do or die from the yellow and black jerseys. We'll see if they can do it.
And it is going to be incredibly exciting because pretty much everything is up for grabs still, right? You know, it's not one of those weeks where we're coming into the final week of a split and it's like, well, there's the last playoff spot up for grabs and that's it. You know, theoretically, everything from 1st down to 8th is still pretty much undecided. You know, yes, there would have to be some kind of crazy circumstances for some of the spots to really get disrupted, but I do think it is going to be a very exciting final week here. Dignitas, if they could grab a win here against 100 Thieves, they keep their chances alive and then would force CLG to try to have to get a win to avoid a tiebreaker. That could open the door for Immortals, you know, to potentially set up a 3-way tiebreaker. There's a lot of crazy scenarios that we could have, and I do think that it's very likely that we're going to at least have some tiebreakers on Sunday. You know, from what I've seen, the chances of 1, 2, or 3 tiebreakers are all quite high.
It's like 75% or something of scenarios are that way. Yes, indeed. So we are in a champion select, of course. Olaf off the table. Contractz, one of 2 junglers with a first blood rate over 50%. Just 3% behind Santorin in first. This man has been very good in the early game. Analyst has talked about Ssumday being a really big deal up the top side. And we think jungle mid is going to be a very important matchup. And Caitlyn is a champion I think should be 100% pick ban in pro play. It's only about 2/3 of that score, but Caitlyn is in, and so a way to lane against her is to play Karma and some other ranged marksmen. Ashe is gone, but you can find someone else decent range and try to keep lane pressure against her.
Yeah, Jhin has become a really common pick into Caitlyn as well as Ashe in pro play. It's just something that you can kind of survive the lane, not necessarily dominate the lane against Caitlyn, so it'll be interesting to see if Johnsun wants to go that route. If he does, though, I do think that could be a bit concerning for Dignitas as they get to the later stages of the game because Johnsun is such a reliable carry for them, you know, in that part of the game. He is someone that they depend on very heavily to get a lot of damage done, so if you put him on Jhin, you may not necessarily have the kind of high DPS that you really will need. Either way, double marksman locked in here for 100 Thieves. It'll be interesting to see if they want to go, you know, more supportive laner in one of the soul lanes as a result. Karma has been taken away, which would have paired quite well with them, but there are obviously other enchanter options.
There are, and so we get to see what the rest of this draft is going to be right now. 100 Thieves, how you plan on the bot lane? Are you going to pick somewhere else? And they are going priority in mid lane. Zoe and Graves will have a lot of early pressure here. And Dignitas want to make sure they can round out their bot lane before the bans come through. They're saying Ezreal is the only good laner we're willing to play. Bans would get us too far down the tier list, which means 100 Thieves can cover Zoe with counter picks by banning things away. And we'll see what this looks like now.
I mean, it is interesting because Ashe is such a priority pick for Johnsun. You know, his 7 plays on this. You know, his next most played is Ezreal, Kai'Sa, and Aphelios tied at 2. Obviously, Ezreal will now be his 3rd play. But by banning that out and the fact that Dignitas didn't actually counter ban the Caitlyn, they've put themselves into a pretty heavily losing matchup. Yes, Karma may be able to swing that somewhat. This could also be Karma as a soul lane, so we have to, you know, keep that option open. But I'm interested to see where 100 Thieves will go. Will they pick a strong laner alongside the Caitlyn? I have been actually kind of disappointed by the fact that we're not seeing some of the more lane dominant supports like Nami coming out. You know, you don't want to blind pick Nami and then get, you know, into a Blitzcrank or something and insta-die, but you're playing against, you know, Karma. Champions like that, you can just devastate.
So these bans are amazing to me that Zyra and Sirak are taking bans because we don't see them practically at all, but these are very good champions, and they would allow you to smash bottom lane alongside of Caitlyn into Karma Ezreal. So even though we don't see him, we could see them, and in some ways we should see them. And so I still like the bans, even though you might not have seen it. I think Nautilus is like fairly likely for Poome, weirdly enough. We get more aggressive jungle from Dardoch. No more Lilia, although his Lilia yesterday was quite good. I liked it. I thought he had a solid game. And Nidalee, of course, going to have plenty of early aggression there as well. And we know that Sett is still going to be that mid-top flex.
And Nidalee just hasn't been that effective in the LCS. People have been good at getting leads on it, but have really struggled, I think, to kind of close out with this champion. So it will be interesting to see if Dardoch is going to be able to do that. You know, I do think that he's going to be someone who can actually compete against this Graves, you know, who wants to be able to kind of run over the map and power farm. Nidalee can keep up as far as the clear speed goes. But overall, you know, it's 2-6 in the LCS, so hasn't been very impressive. Blabber and Contractz are the two that have a win here. Dardoch on his first play of the split on this Nidalee. You know, I think more junglers are kind of reaching to try to bring out an additional carry-style jungler pick. We saw a first Nidalee pick for Blabber this week. Now Dardoch's going to it. Bard as the pick here makes, I think, quite a lot of sense. It's definitely not nearly as strong of a laner as something like the Nami, but it gives you a lot of engage options. It gives you the additional utility here, and it is going to be someone who can really be effective at picking off, especially someone like the Karma, who's relatively low mobility and is going to be reliant on that flash to actually escape from the ultimate, can allow you to set up pretty effectively, and the Bard ult into a trap combo is very, very effective. That's something that's going to allow them to really find a lot of picks potentially throughout the mid game.
Yep. Ezreal, this is interesting. 100 Thieves have picked Ornn for the first time since week 1, where Ssumday played back-to-back Ornn games, and everyone was like, you have Ssumday and you're giving him Ornn? What are you doing in your drafts? This time around, they have a chance. We know they have locked playoffs again. They have controlled their destiny in order to get themselves into the upper bracket of playoffs, which is a very big deal. I think that is something they are absolutely fighting for. And they say, you know what? It didn't work in week 1, but it's 2 months later. We think here against Dignitas that blind pick Ornn is the way to go. Viper got to counterpick on Camille, and I'm curious to see if the rest of 100 Thieves have leveled up enough to say, well, Ssumday on tanks is still going to work for us. Or work for us for the first time.
I think that was the concern, right? It's that he had to blind pick. So, you know, maybe nervous about some of the picks that Viper will be willing to bring out. You know, a lot of people are kind of assuming that this could be a top-focused game plan because this does seem like a mismatch. You know, the analysts are talking about it. We were talking about it in the caster check-in. You know, Viper going for some sort of a counter pick and giving Dardoch options to actually play through that lane. So if you are expecting that, you know, it's pretty risky to just like blind pick a carry-style top laner and then potentially get countered and get punished there. I do think that Ssumday should be able to withstand this Camille matchup. You know, Camille, obviously with jungle help, can get ahead, but it's difficult for her to really just completely snowball the lane because Ornn has solid wave clear, and for the most part, even from behind, can kind of just AFK at the tower and defend. The real question, though, is, you know, can the rest of the team pick up the slack as far as the damage is concerned, and can they be, you know, that win condition? But I mean, Ssumday is going to have great engage. There's lots of squishy members. Poome is going to have good engage with the ultimate. And Cody Sun has been a reliable carry. Plus, you have Contractz on the Graves, so they're not lacking for damage by any means.
Cool to see Sett mid here again as well. And we'll see what can happen now as Dignitas, once again, for those of you just joining us, backs against the wall. Dignitas must win here for a chance at playoffs or they are gone. Their season is over, and we will wait for 2021 to see Dignitas play League of Legends ever again. Ssumday and Viper, trading a few blows in the top side. Grasp for Viper will make him a stronger laner. Will hurt his dueling against Ssumday later on, so the split push is going to be slightly weaker, but honestly, from my experience as not much of a top laner, all you really care about as a fighter is getting enough gold that your items win you the matchup. The runes are less of the factor at, you know, 35 minutes, but obviously can be relevant.
It can definitely matter. I think, honestly, going something like Conquer matters more in solo queue because you're more likely to have the extended trade. In competitive play, let's be honest, almost 100% of the time, the Ornn is just going to stand at the turret and not even interact with you once you're at the point where you could actually win the fight. So, you know, Grasp for the part where you actually are trading a lot is incredibly effective. That plus the Camille passive makes the lane, you know, so much more effective here for Viper. So if you can get ahead, if you can get that gold, as you're saying, you're kind of hoping that you can get strong enough to where you can kind of just push in and try to ignore the Ornn, try to take tower plates, or at least be able to have priority so that you can roam around and, you know, threaten the enemy jungler, threaten the mid laner, and things like that.
Sure. Well, early redemption. Ryoma's going to feel nice about that one and just shove out the wave and get his health bar in a decent spot. Viper did win the early trades against Ssumday, made him use his first potion. Overall, looks like he got more grasp procs as well. So very, very small early start there. Dardoch going to clear through his own jungle. 3 camps in right now, taking his blue buff down, no problems. Gets to stack up Zombie Ward. That's bonus ability power, by the way. So the sweeper start for Nidalee actually is worth stats as well, especially if they do aggressively ward against you. So feeling comfortable enough there. So far, early farm lead Nidalee, as expected. Obviously, his mechanics very, very strong. I feel like Nidalee is maybe the jungler most, like, the clear speed is most tied to your mechanics than like, any other jungler.
I can definitely see that. I think that's pretty fair to say. You know, maybe there are some other ones that are a little bit more complex. I mean, Lilia, I think, is like fairly complex now, but maybe not at a pro level, you know, for pro players and the expectation that they can obviously all kite the camps perfectly and whatnot. I could definitely see Nidalee being the most difficult in that regard. But Dignitas, you know, yesterday, we also have to remember, they were actually playing pretty well against Cloud9. You know, that was a fairly winnable game. They did end up falling down. But they had a respectable showing. You know, Fenix was actually going for a full tank Sett. You know, so this is Sett mid back-to-back. I do think that, again, it would make sense here for him to go full tank. You know, he's really the only true frontliner on the team. They have a lot of damage from the rest of the squad with a, you know, pretty much pure damage top laner, and even Karma as well as the Nidalee are going to be adding in some extra damage there. So I would like to see him just go full tank again and try to play as that frontline.
Yeah, totally agree. I think there is a lot of damage in this lineup, and I really do think you can get everything all the way through. Dardoch going again for an aggressive play, and that's a stun. They're going for the fight right now. Ssumday good sidestep, flashes because he's going to take so much more damage from Viper, but it still might mean this Gromp is taken away. It's leashing around. They kill another ward. Dardoch gets even more AP from those zombie wards coming through. That's got to feel great for him. The question is he going to get stopped? And really, no. Contractz going to the other side of the map. He might take Wolves. He's got Raptors up for himself, but he is not contesting that Gromp. And that is a camp poached away by Dardoch. Dignitas, great early jungling.
Doing very well. And honestly, as Contractz, until you see Viper showing back in the top lane, you don't even have an opportunity to go over there, because then you would just be flipping a coin, because you don't know if he's actually sitting in the blue buff brush, you know, waiting for you, and then you could get hookshot over on you and a pretty easy kill. So Contractz had to be more defensive from that situation. Ssumday forced to flash. You know, Viper is back up in the top lane now, but Poome's in trouble.
Damage on Poome. He's already burned the heal. One audible kill him against the Steal, and that's going to be just enough. But now Cody Sun forced one away. Gets some hot cocoa. Q going to land if he wasn't going to flash, and that is a huge lead in the bottom lane for aphromoo and Johnsun.
That is massive for Dignitas here. Viper now in a little bit of trouble. We'll be able to back it up, but you know, you go towards the Bard, you do gain that extra utility, but you don't have that straight up laning prowess that a champion like Karma can. And you can see Cody Sun had been poked out quite a lot here. You know, aphromoo zoning him off of this second Coco there, and then Poome just steps too far forward and gets chained up. And once you actually get that full route, it's pretty easy for Johnsun to land a lot of those skill shots and just straight up chasing down Cody Sun here. They hit absolutely everything there. Really well played by Dignitas, and Poome would have needed to hug if you know, towards that little alcove. You can actually E through that wall. So if he had actually moved down, you know, when he got tethered, you could actually E over the wall and break that tether immediately, and then I think you do survive. To me, that shows a little bit of inexperience, actually, on the Bard pick, and maybe just something he didn't even think about. Because a lot of those really great Bard players will utilize that alcove for Magic Journeys to actually, you know, be able to escape some situations like that.
Yeah, it means you kind of functionally have Arcane Shift yourself, and it's double Ezreal. That sounds like an annoying lane to gank. Dardoch forced to flash away, though. Takes a nice little binding, but it does not matter. It means Heart of Thieves get temporary control over the bottom river, but end of the day, Dardoch flashless is going to feel bad about that one. He's still up 2 to 3 jungle camps over Contractz. That part feels good. 2-on-2 first blood, though, obviously means Dignitas have a 600 gold lead.
Also very interesting, I don't think I've ever seen Conqueror Nidalee. I just actually noticed that. That is really strange. I'm kind of wondering, you know, what exactly the thought process is there, because I don't think Nidalee will really be able to effectively keep that stacked up. Yes, in an all-in type situation, you know, if you hit them with a spear, you jump in, you know, you use all the abilities in cat form, then you are going to be able to stack it up fairly quickly, but it's not as though you then stay there and keep autoing them at Nidalee. That's just not really how the fights work for her. So I'm curious if this is intentional or maybe a mispick. But definitely seems very atypical.
I'm looking up for solo queue data, and yeah, pick rate and win rate are both exceptionally low for Conqueror.
Yeah.
So it could be that he's like, actually, I'm going to be the late game Ssumday split push champion, but this almost feels more...
Feels
like it's weird. Like, I don't know what it would be around, because
if
you know,
you're
Lily
against a
doesn't run
tank
this either.
jungler, I could see it.
Yeah, yeah. This feels like a misplay, but obviously, like, if you know, we can ask about it. We can. I'm sure the people online who are tweeting about, you know, the goals of this one, better junglers than me. But we have a fight now again, and it's damage onto Fenix. He's at about 1K, but he's healthy enough. Obviously, has the Magic Mantle. Gonna go Spectre's Cowl first item, and shouldn't be a big deal.
Looks like he is just going to be itemizing towards probably full tank. I think it is smart here. But yeah, I mean, the Conqueror, you're probably not going to make or break the game either way. It is interesting. It's just something we'll have to track, see how it does go throughout it. It could even potentially be, you know, more about like some of the secondary choices he wants. You know, he does have zombie ward, so maybe if you want that plus presence of mind, but I still don't really understand it because you could just go secondary. Either way, we'll see how this does work out for Dardoch. But things looking pretty good for Dignitas in the early stages. You know, they are winning lanes kind of across the board. Yes, farm is just about dead even here in the bottom lane, but Dignitas does have the kill. They're up a bit of farm in the top lane. They're up farm jungle. They're up a little bit of farm in mid lane. So going to be feeling pretty happy about that.
Nia pings, hey, mid laner, left lane. We don't know where Nidalee is. Be careful. They walk away from the turret momentarily where they realize, okay, they're on Drake. We saw Ezreal walk up. It's fine. We can take the farm after all. But it does still mean Dignitas mostly through bot lane pressure. Fenix shoves a single wave, and it's like, yep, that's Drake, because we've been crushing you down on the bottom side now. This has been really, really nice. Again, kudos to aphromoo for the setup. Yeah, sure, a misplay from Poome, but still credit where it's due. A good play out there. Means bot lane control now for Dignitas. Top lane fighting back and forth. CS pretty equal, and Viper now feeling a bit bad about this one. Ult's going to come in from Ornn. Flash is going to go the correct direction. Wait till he directs it, see where it's going, do it reactively. Viper stays alive, but that is now a flash missing. And no TP to get back to lane. He's going to lose this wave most likely, or maybe one eventually, because that is still a low health bar on that top laner.
He should be able to hang around to farm it out, because I don't think he's low enough to actually dive since the ulti isn't up and Ssumday's low on mana. He even has that biscuit. You can see he's not concerned enough to actually pop it, so should be fine. But good pressure out from Ssumday, forcing the flash there, very, very nice. And having the Bombi Cinder plus you know, the Bramble Vest there is going to make it pretty difficult for Viper to actually trade back into him. You can see Viper with the early Sheen here will be rushing towards Triforce, not making a pit stop there for something like the Tiamat. You know, a lot of times people will like to go Tiamat in matchups that they can't necessarily punish because that gives you, you know, really powerful wave clear, allows you the ability to just push this out and then roam and try to make things happen with your jungler. But when you go Triforce, your straight up dueling is more powerful, and it gives you the option to freeze if you can put the wave in an advantageous spot. So we'll see if Viper can make use of that.
Yeah, so far checking in, you know, 6 CSDF on the top side, not a lot of jungle attention either way. Obviously kind of pick for Camille, hoping for more to happen later on in this game. Fenix takes a little bit of damage. Cleanse Burn for the extra little spell damage there as Fenix chunks him back, finds a stun. Dardoch jukes the stun, and now it is a magical opportunity to get Poome out of danger. Gold difference still stays 600. Pretty flat game so far, but of course that extra Drake picked up means that timer started. Dignitas are 18 minutes away from a soul if they can stack the Drakes up.
It's also worth noting that aphromoo actually did go Spell Thieves here. We've been seeing almost no Spell Thieves still in the LCS, despite the fact that it did get a pretty significant buff as far as the mana regeneration. So aphromoo will be a little bit more squishy as a result, but you're going to have the additional mana to work with, and Ryoma looking for him here.
Aphro is sleeping. They can chunk him, and they do. Contractz grabs the kill, flashes back over the wall. Fenix hits some damage apart, but that's it. And they get a hair, but they lose their support. 100 Thieves on the board.
Seems like an okay trade, but it did feel as though Dignitas maybe could have actually peeled off and given him a little bit of help. Perhaps they're just making the call there that he's going to die either way, or we can't win the fight if we do peel, so they just commit to that Rift Herald and do end up taking it down. But you know, Aphro was just kind of stuck over on the side by himself there, and you know, didn't receive really any help from his team, so it does end up going down. But at least for them, they finish that Herald, and we'll see how much gold they can get back from it.
Well, of course, the gold now tied once again, but yes, you're going to expect to see 2 or so plates dropping down. 1 plate dead in the bottom lane, so initially I'm looking down there. Poome does not have his ulti up for a while, right? They saw that one burn not long ago, so you're not going to get the Herald charge immuned by that spell, so that's actually something to really kind of think about.
Yeah,
look, you might get 0 out of the charge. Why not just cast it now and make sure you get 300 gold?
Yeah, and there's also, you know, another half plate or so has been taken, and Herald can do like almost 2.5 plates. you know, if you do get that maximum damage out. So right now, if they dropped it, they might even potentially get 3, but Ryoma is on the roam here. Contractz is in the area, so until Fenix actually draws Ryoma back towards that mid lane, they probably would be pretty hesitant. But Nidalee can just kind of show up and just lane with you for a little bit and be fairly annoying, throw spears, and look to actually find that angle to drop the Herald, which probably should be now.
Yeah, they're going to put the damage in. I think once you chunk this plate, you just summon it and you say, hey, it's good enough. Realistically, at this point, this is a decent summon. But they're waiting it out, and at this point, they've now kind of missed the window. Because next wave you can summon this on, you have the chance of Poome interrupting the charge and preventing that 2,000 true damage, the guaranteed to plate pickup if he's quick on the trigger, sees it coming, and lands the ult, and he's in the right lane for it.
I think they probably just didn't have a timer on the ultimate, to be honest. People are pretty infrequently going to time ultimates like that. I think, you know, even at the competitive level, I do agree it's something that is important to actually track. But still, you don't see people always being that comfortable playing around it. I think they're just kind of operating under the assumption that he had the ultimate the whole time. They're playing like that, so may not even be able to get it down before the plates do fall. We'll see if Dardoch does actually drop it quickly, but I do think this is a misplay for sure to not actually get that turret plate gold whatsoever.
All right, well, it's going to be 300 gold left on the table, maybe 160 if that plate was going to die anyway, and they'd only get one more, but no recall stop. Back to the base they go. A little bit left on the table, but still a game that is close back and forth. Dignitas know this is do or die. That will always, I think, or at least almost always, weigh on your mind a little bit. And people will say, oh, one at a time, whatever, but in general, my experience is like, you kind of know when the game matters, and it's just in the back of your mind no matter what, and that can just affect you.
It for sure can, right? You can sometimes play a little bit more hesitant. Some players do rise to the occasion, and that's really something that is kind of one of those intangibles. It's hard to place value on people who are just kind of those clutch players, but 100 Thieves rushing this down, and doesn't look like Dignitas could be here.
Javelin lands, but not enough to kill it, so that's going to be Drake picked up behind the Thieves. Now a fight happens. Fenix, big front line there, gets the punch, gets the shield, gets out, but now is there going to be a re-engage? Health bar is getting a bit low, but only a stun from Ssumday and a disengage. 100 Thieves get the objective. They do not lose a player. They get out. This time they see, okay, Temper Fate is definitely gone. We can summon Herald into the mid lane. Their turret will get to about 1/4 health, but without a full push, their turret will live.
Credit to Poome, though. He actually had a great ultimate on the engage from Dignitas, getting both of the members of Dignitas' bot lane. So there wasn't really any follow-up there to actually come through after Viper and Fenix and everybody kind of went in. So it wasn't really well played ult. Most of the time you kind of are looking towards those ults for catches, and some of those defensive ultimates can get overlooked. But this was a good one from Poome that I do think saved them a couple lives.
All right, well, the lives are saved. It's still 1-1 in kills, 1-1 in Drakes, and still 0-0 on turrets. We have items coming through. Trinity Force now done for the top laner. Viper gets his first power spike. He is obviously against the expected armor stacking build, Russia Bramble Vest by a Sunfire Cape. Tabby's probably coming soon here for Ssumday. He is built to be able to handle his Camille, and Ryoma to be able to grab his blue buff there. Nice little invade by Contractz, makes that one happen. A little bit of damage onto that, or not an invade rather. Sorry, I got my sides backwards, but regardless, gets his own buff. Aphro runs away.
I've got to say, I like the builds from both the tanks thus far. There is magic damage on both teams, with the Nidalee, a little bit from the Ezreal and also the Zoe. But I do think because the consistent damage, the real threat towards those tanks is actually physical, you can just rely on the flat health that you have to keep you alive against champions like the Zoe and like the Nidalee, and just build towards health and armor, which is what both these guys are doing. The only MR that Fenix actually grabbed is in his Merc Treads. He's grabbed the Bombi Cinder for some health, as well as the proc there on CC, and he's going straight towards the Deadmans. And likewise, Ssumday is just stacking that armor, knowing that he really has to be able to survive more through the Camille and the Ezreal.
Right now we're seeing them just fight over the waves back and forth, and yes, waiting to see when these tanks come in and when they make the big plays. Always fantasizing the move speed stacking on Sett. You land the stun, you run behind him after a punch, and you go for that backwards dunk. The Sett insect is getting kind of easier and easier for players. Obviously, it's one of the primary combos to use, and that was why we saw a lot of phase rush, for example, it was pretty much guaranteed if you could trigger phase rush, you could get behind them. Fleet footwork is a better laning rune because you get the sustain. You can do somewhat similar things with the move speed burst. And now as the lanes move around 17 minutes in, first turret finally goes down to 100 Thieves pushing through there. And now a quick dive into the mid lane. Ryoma brings a stopwatch, knock down the turret, they'll get him. And Ryoma, he flashed into the Mystic Shot, and he's going to go down. A kill in there for Dignitas.
Really well played, and I mean, based on the cooldown of Ryoma's TP, it looks like he just straight up TP'd into all those people trying to defend that and does get killed off, wastes the summoners. So pretty big punish there for Dignitas. Nicely done as they are on the invade here, taking multiple camps away from Contractz. And you can see Dardoch right now is 2 levels up on this Graves. You know, we're not sure how close he is. Okay, he just hit 10, so, you know, a level and a bit is more accurate. But Dignitas looking pretty good so far in this game. But we have to see how well they can play in the mid game. Can they actually avoid mistakes and really be able to execute come teamfight time? Because this is a similar spot to kind of where they were against Cloud9. And we need to be able to see them execute better than they did against them to close this one out.
All right, well, look at the game state right now. 1,200 gold lead to Dignitas fighting for their playoff lives. And they're going to hope that Cloud9 can beat CLG to keep them alive. That's going to be tomorrow. Regardless, it is 100 Thieves hoping to find some factor of a comeback. Infinity Edge is done for Caitlyn. Sadly, she is stacking attack speed. Not only is Ezreal's second item, I'm thinking, but also lethal tempo. That is way more attack speed than Caitlyn needs. I definitely disagree with the build, but regardless, they're still playing around that as a primary carry. Obviously, several tanks in this lineup. Bard is kind of a tank, to be honest. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's kind of still how I factor him. Obviously, the Ornn on the top side means they're not relying on Ssumday to be the damage carry. It's all on Ryoma and Cody Sun. And you can see them pushing through the mid lane again.
I would say with this build, I'm not really, you know, down to count Bard as a tank. If you're doing the Dead Man's Rush, I think it's, you know, it's more kind of that idea. But I don't think that the runes alone are going to make up for how, you know, squishy you are with Redemption Bobby Boots build, right? So we still have to see you play quite carefully when you go for these builds. I think, you know, this style of build for Bard is just higher risk, higher reward than the Dead Man's. You do obviously have the additional utility. Redemption can be extremely powerful. But if you misposition yourself, if you get caught out, then you can get burst down incredibly fast.
Now we got a pressure now in the mid lane once again as you've got this wave getting dropped down. The Herald is in. This turret will not die to the Shelly charge, but it'll be some damage. About half of the health will go away. A couple of autos come in. 25 gold over to Johnsun. We'll see if mid lane can eventually crack, but 1,600 gold difference puts Dignitas ahead, and these teams now grouping around the third Drake to spawn. There's a Cloud map, there's Cloud Soul eventually. And you can see Contractz now getting the free fire onto this Drake. A big chunk onto Johnsun means maybe Dignitas going to give this one away. You can see Ezreal just sticking in the mid lane, and they will not even try. 100 Thieves going to grab Drake number 2.
Yeah, and I think just based on Viper's positioning, they weren't actually interested in really going for that. Viper just was continually pushing up on that top side, but now a catch onto Dardoch.
Can they get it? Can they find a stun? Can they find some chunks? Only a slow one to Fenix. On their Javelin, it's Cody Sun. Of course, Viper still hitting that top side. All 3 outer turrets have been slain at this point. Ryoma chunked on a half HP. Sleep on a Fenix. Decent damage, but he's still a pretty tanky man. And there will not be a kill picked up. Dignitas have grown their gold lead to 2.1 thousand off of split pushing. They will happily bleed away a Cloud Drake and take the turret gold instead. Ssumday chunks bottom a little bit, but will not finish the turret.
They have lost, I think, the last 2 dragons now. But because they did, you know, ground that Infernal, obviously it's still quite a long way away from the soul there for 100 Thieves. And I think Dignitas in general feels like, you know, with the Nidalee, with the Camille, they probably want to be more focused on the split push, more focused on getting catches, because Graves as well as the Ornn are going to be more effective in the team fights than their counterparts, very likely, unless you can find some sort of incredible flank. So we'll see how Dignitas does want to play this out, because if the game does stay at a relatively even gold lead, from here on out, you know, they are going to be forced to start coming to these dragons and contesting, and, you know, maybe at that point the 100 Thieves can take over.
Drowsy, bit of damage, happens to sidestep Dardoch and going back in, but now a big trade comes in, pulls him in, out of the Redemption, heal too late for the flash, Ryoma goes down, Dardoch claims the kill, but a re-engage for Ssumday means Dardoch is going to have to be real careful with this one. 300 health left on him, trying to flash away a kill for Johnsun. 1 trade back though, it's a 2-for-1 so far. How about the re-engage? Dignitas have a hard way out of this one as there's Tempered Fate. There's aphromoo ready to be stunned up, but not just yet. In goes Johnsun, more damage onto Poome, he's running out of health! And Johnsun takes him down onto a rampage. Ssumday now 1 versus 4. He's running out of time as well. Double kill comes in for the Ezreal, and there is just not enough damage to chunk down these champions. Finally, aphromoo goes down to the ult of Cody Sun. Level 12 onto him, but he is the only man left alive on his team.
Johnsun played that team fight incredibly well. I don't think he missed a single spell throughout that. That was absolutely insane. Playing it for so long over the wall here. The initial play, was towards Ryoma, but he bought a lot of time for players to move. And then it became about who could make the collapse. You could see on the minimap, the Dignitas bot lane was kind of following behind this Graves. Ssumday TPing in to defend Ryoma. He does end up going down, but then it's about the extended fight. And the fact that Dardoch actually survives for a while here, bought a lot of time for the squad. Fenix kiting this out. He's surviving on the top side, but Johnsun taking down Contractz. And then his position here, I think, was so intelligent. If you shift in too early, you can just get stunned up, taken down. He waits until the spells have been spent. He waits until Ssumday has moved out of a position to stun him, and then straight over onto Poome, nailing everything onto him, zoning Cody Sun out of the fight, and being able to take Ssumday down on the back end of that. That is some immaculate team fighting from Johnsun. Fortunately for aphromoo, Fenix cannot get back in time to defend him, but a bit of split focus from 100 Thieves, I think, did kind of hurt them there. They got baited into the low health bar of Fenix, but when you have an Ornn and a Bard chasing down this full tank Sett who is at low health and is having a tremendous amount of health regeneration coming through, you may not be able to finish him off, and in this case, they weren't.
Okay, so look at this game now. 3,000 gold lead for Dignitas. Yeah, they're down a Drake count right now, but this has got to feel real comfortable. 5 kills on the Ezreal. He is getting closer and closer to Death's Dance. CDR, obviously a great damage stat for the champion, and obviously lifesteal pretty nice as well, getting harder and harder to kill. Sunfire Cape now completed for Fenix. The front line is real durable here. Viper going to find his battle against Ssumday. Loses the shield, goes for a stun, decent damage, and tries to cut away from the brittle and play that one a little bit slowly. As they're now playing around this side of the map. Aphro's going to get over the wall. Snipe going to come in and nearly the kill. I think the Graves ult missed, or Aphro was dead.
I'm not sure. It looked like it hit to me through, that was just through a shield. We'd have to watch it again to be, super sure. But either way, the Kate ult and the Graves ult are expended. aphromoo barely gets out, and Cody Sun did go for Stormrazor second.
Good.
So
okay.
Potentially is going towards that triple BF build that I know you are a fan of. Could pick up that Essence Reaver next. And just to talk about that a little bit, what is your thought process? Obviously, Rapid Fire is so incredibly popular, but I know you are a big advocate for just stacking the BF items and going towards a more AD heavy build.
Right, so in terms of mathematical DPS, how much damage can I do over a team fight, it is easily triple BF sword, and it's not close. And with lethal tempo, it's even more pushed towards that way, because you've already got attack speed and runes. I think if you're going to win a team fight, you got to auto-attack more than 2 times. Getting one rapid fire cannon hit doesn't win you a fight. It doesn't, if you're sieging and you're ahead, sure, right? You do 300 to a turret, you walk away, cool, that's decent, but you're not killing Fenix, and you're not killing Viper unless you're autoing them 8 times. So what's Rapid Fire Cannon doing by giving you 1 auto is basically the way I consider it here. So I think in this game, if you're against no tanks, sure, but you're against tanks here. Anyway, a fight for the bottom side. Ssumday finds a stun, but he's going to find himself in a 1 versus 3. Dunk backwards, still gets a knockup, but only onto 1. The health bar is getting lower and lower. Where's his team? It's nowhere to be seen. Dardoch finds the kill. Ssumday defends a turret to his death.
And Ryoma just had a terrible TP there. Maybe Ssumday was thinking, okay, the defense is going to come in from the squad. Poome is in the area. If Ryoma actually TP'd to a minion instead, he arrives. He TP'd to a turret that had about 5% health left, and it just, of course, gets burst down before he can arrive. So all of a sudden, there's no backup coming through, and they are able to grab the kill, the tower, and the dragon here. Remember, 100 Thieves are on the hunt for an upper bracket berth. We'll watch this one more time. So this is that previous replay where aphromoo almost got picked off. We can maybe watch closely here and see if this ultimate did hit. Yeah, it hit. That hit for sure.
Okay. Yeah, the explosion blew up on him. Okay.
Yeah. So that's just the Mantra Shield, which obviously is pretty powerful from the Karma. So barely enough to keep him alive. But you can also see how these two champions do have pretty good range. If Zoe can actually land any sort of poke, the Graves ultimate over top, especially with the little bit of lethality that he has, and Caitlyn ultimate, when you are going for these AD heavy builds in particular, is very threatening. Cody Sun not going towards the Essence Reaver will be that rapid fire. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of the discussion of which do you prefer more, the utility or the straight up raw DPS. If you are looking more for a poke style victory, then rapid fire can be effective. But you're against Nidalee, who can heal through that. Ryoma may be in trouble here on that side lane.
Well, it's some damage and a sleep and a big chunk. Dardoch's at half. Of course, he can heal back up. He's got a Fiend. He's going to be okay with all of this. But Fenix chunked down a little bit as well. Ryoma trying to find his way back into this game. Right now, only on 2 items in the Zoe. No flat pen outside of Sork Shoes, no Death Cap. He's going to take him some time to get up there. The Zonius is a defensive purchase. It is lower DPS as a result. Now seeing the top river being fought over. Scuttle already controlled by 100 Thieves for now. 2-2 on Drakes means Soul's not happening until, you know, 35 minutes or so in this game at the earliest. So we're going to have several fights to go to decide who's going to win this one. Still a 4,000 gold lead for Dignitas.
And Dignitas has bought themselves a lot of time to get things done in the side lane because they've taken a couple of these dragons. You know, they have pretty strong poke, and Dardoch, I actually really like the build here from Nidalee. I think, you know, going for the pure damage build, he may be in some trouble here. So,
oh, that is a lot of damage, and it's Ryoma. There's his zone. That's why he bought it. It's going to help keep him alive. Johnsun can't get back in, and this better be a stun. You better catch this guy. The flash goes nowhere. But a double stun, they find a kill. Goodbye to Karma. Now Fenix running backwards as well. Redemption over the top, puts down his own shield. Runs away from this one, but 100 Thieves get the 1-for-0 aphromoo. 0, 3, and 5.
aphromoo going down there, did kind of move forward, trying to, I think, defend Johnsun from potentially some of that poke. Viper now, maybe caught out.
Stormrazor is nice, right? That's that little you know, slow utility. You like that one. You like to see it, but look at this. Dignitas say, hey, we just saw 3 people bot lane. Viper's baiting them around the map. Let's go for this one. Dardoch and Johnsun will do plenty of damage here with Fenix tanking. Going for the play now. Contractz sidesteps thanks to Phase Rush. He's going to get away. Poome shows back up here as well. Kind of Thieves can fight back for the wards.
And this is potentially risky when you do go for those plays. Sometimes there is a chance for a counter Baron. It's not going to happen here, but you know, with Johnsun, Fenix, and Dardoch all chunked a little bit, there is always that risk of it. But Dardoch, you know, after the first jungle item, going towards the Theans does allow you to have a lot more utility in these team fights, and Zhonya's can actually work as somewhat of an offensive item on the Nidalee because it can allow you to actually jump into the back line and not just be throwing your life away. If you can hit that spear, you can jump in, get some big damage down with the, you know, the pounce as well as the execute from your Q, and then just pop into the Zhonyas and be fairly disruptive. It allows the pounce cooldown to come back up and potentially you to escape after that. So a lot of use for that on Dardoch, and he has been farming very, very well. He's level 14. And has been kind of just, you know, keeping up with a lot of the soul laners over on 100 Thieves.
He's got more than either of the farming tanks, right? He's above the Ornn, he's above the Sett. He's above, he's close to Zoe. She just got another wave, so Ryoma's in a decent spot. But yeah, this man has a lot of gold. He's got some decent levels there as well. He's equal level with both bot lanes, and of course in pro play, supports tend to leave the lane and give more of that XP over. Another BF sword coming in for Cody Sun. I could see Guardian Angel making sense. You're against a Camille and a Nidalee. There's a lot of dive out there. Obviously, you could easily go for Essence Reaver and continue to stack crit, which would be 100% on the build, which would feel good as well. Either one, I think, makes sense based on what you think is going to happen in this game. But Cody Sun is well and online, right? He's got 3 BF swords and 75 crit chance. Like, this Caitlyn is going to be real scary in team fights, and despite the gold deficit, if Cody gets a free fire, that is a lot of damage.
He's got Molten Edge as well, so you can add even more AD in there. This guy is going to be very, very strong. Unfortunately for Ssumday, there's no other items to upgrade right now. No one else has built them, and it is Dignitas looking for an engage here.
Okay, ulti on to Ssumday. He's going to tank as long as he can, but the health bar is getting lower and lower. 1 kill left on him. Looks for the stun. Gets 2. Is the re-engage good? Johnsun takes some damage and heals right back to full. Thank you, Death Dance. Thank you, Nidalee. They cannot kill backline from 100 Thieves. Johnsun will always stay alive.
Ssumday, though, doesn't go down either, and I do think, again, credit to Poome, he had a good defensive ultimate, catching multiple members from Dignitas so they couldn't actually pile in and finish off Ssumday, because if Ssumday goes down there, it's essentially a guaranteed dragon for Dignitas. In this case, Ssumday gets chunked, but he's back out on the map, and the dragon hasn't spawned yet, so, you know, won't be much of a gain here for Dignitas.
Well, it's going to be Viper going for the solo, though, and this man has been splitting around the entire time. Dardoch in a bad spot, flash to get away. Stun comes in from Fenix, holding the front line, knocked into the air, though. Big punch. It's not going to be enough. Contractz claims that kill, and it's 100 Thieves finding ways to fight back. They will lose this Drake. Goodbye, Viper. The macro play was nice by Dig, but an overstep from Fenix is going to give some topside map control back to 100 Thieves.
I mean, that just seemed like miscommunication or a poor understanding of what's going on there from Fenix. Your bot lane is not that close to you. Dardoch is flashing out, so Dardoch's trying to get away. He's not actually looking to re-engage, and I think in that case, you can just probably spend the Dardoch flash, because I don't think Poome had his ultimate up back yet. So there wasn't really much good follow-up there. You know, after Dardoch flashes out, Viper is on the dragon. But instead, Fenix kind of charges in there, trying to peel for Dardoch, who's flashing out anyway and gives up his life. You know, thankfully for them, they still get that dragon, and doesn't seem like 100 Thieves is really going to get much of anything else off of this. So they won't be punished too heavily, but needless death, it felt like there from Fenix.
Well, still, the wave clear goes back and forth. Obviously, so much lifesteal on Cody Sun, Legend Bloodline. It's stacked with headshot, 150 health to headshot a minion. It's a lot of sustain for this man. He's going to be just fine. Keeping his health bar back up despite some Ezreal poke. Dardoch, once again, playing aggressively. Knows he can jump away with the ward. Sleep's not quite going to land, although nice try by Ryoma, trying to thread it through the wall and get it as far as he can. But now on the ward, Dardoch paying attention, not caught shopping. Teemo thumbs up. Yes, please. I like the attempt by Poome. If he was window shopping, that guy was dead.
It was a good reaction time from Dardoch. Credit to him.
Yeah.
You know, as you say, if he is caught shopping there, could have easily gone down, but was paying attention, jumps out in time. I like that Ssumday is likely going to be building towards a Warmogs potentially here. I think that would make a lot of sense, both to shut down any sort of split push, because you can just trade your health out for the wave every time Viper steps forward. And also, it's actually fantastic to just soak up Nidalee Spears, Ezreal Qs. You know, when you're setting up for dragons and when you're setting up for team fights, you can just walk in and tank all of that initial poke damage and shrug it off very easily with the Warmogs. So, makes it like a lot of sense, I think, both in that side lane and the team fight sort of setup.
Well, upgrades available now for Ssumday as Contractz gets his Black Cleaver. Ludens and Zhonya's are both options, and Redemption in there for Poome means he's going to get the Redemption upgrade now. That is the least bonus gold of upgrade. Support items only get about 500 gold efficiency. You get close to about 1,000 for, you know, farm items, but still going to give Poome some extra stats. That'll feel half decent. Stone Plate now done for Fenix. That's going to be really nice as well. Bloodthirster actually the pick for Cody Sun, so very defensive there. I can see that. I like getting crit, but again, it's a way of saying, no. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to die. It helps him duel against Viper if he does get jumped on. Again, I think they're all defensible options based on how you think the fights are going to go.
And so it's a tremendous amount of lifesteal, and the shield on Bloodthirster I think is often overlooked too. So you know that can be pretty effective. He's not actually playing with Overheal, so he doesn't have that. In addition, he is playing Presence of Mind this game, but you know it is going to give him the ability to stack up the shield very easily, to shrug off poke incredibly easily because he does have all of that lifesteal both from this plus Legend Bloodline. So will be pretty darn powerful in these fights, and he did actually go Gathering Storm as well. So he went for the Scaling Rune. You know, we have crested that 30-minute mark, so he's getting a tremendous amount of AD at this point in the game.
Yeah, feels pretty good. I like this. It's gonna be a really solid 4-item build. I really do like Caitlyn a ton in endgame builds. Personally, I take her over Ezreal in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Obviously, Johnsun has a lot of safety, but with VT, RFC, Caitlyn has these amount of that as well. It's going to feel comfortable. Viper goes for his trades, has managed to get a small level lead, has a farm lead as well, but be careful. He's still getting attacked by Ssumday. Chunks him back, goes to half HP, and now he's got to kite away. 3 people in the bot side. Hunter Thieves has collapsed back down towards Viper, but he's walked away.
I would actually like to see Viper just ignore Ssumday. You know, spend your life to hit the turret, because that's a Warmogs on Ssumday. So, you know, that he's about to have, rather. He doesn't have it quite yet, so excuse me. But, you know, I don't think you can actually really kill off Ssumday unless you have such a long time to actually go 1v1 against him. So I'd rather he chunks for the turret, but they are starting this up, and with the rotation coming over, they saw the blue orb, they see that Baron getting ulted by the Bard, so they will just back it up and buy more time here now for Viper, who knows that he is alone in a 1v1 down there.
Easy damage through Ezreal. Chunks Ryoma to half HP. There you can see it. Viper just goes to the turret itself, goes to half HP, feels comfortable. He knows the entire team is pulled over, right? He's like, okay, 4 people mid. I know I'm not going to get killed by Ssumday. I will trade half my life bar, and then he will heal back to full off the next wave. And then next wave, that turret is dead for the same trade.
Exactly, right? And the Krugs are even up, so he can go over there and he heals up off that. You're playing double lifesteal, so trade your life for turret damage. That is going to be more permanent there than that damage onto Ssumday, who now does have that completed Warmogs. But they're starting this up again. They're drawing 100 Thieves over. They do see Contractz, so they know it is that extended 1v1. And again, they'll just pull off every time 100 Thieves comes over here. They just need to buy time for Viper. The Dragon is spawning, though, so I would like to see Dignitas move over towards that, grab that soul for themselves if they can. And yeah, to your point, Viper is already moving over there. He's looking to try to start this up, but the rest of the team needs to come unless they're willing to make a trade. They're trying to force 100 Thieves in between Baron or Dragon. Where do you go? And they are moving towards the Baron, so Dignitas will have to pull off this again, but this is buying so much time for Viper to finish this. And this is actually a really strong macro showing from Dignitas. They are playing a
Really
very good game here. This is perfect.
Really, really good stuff from Dignitas when you needed it most.
Baron.
Your playoff lives are on the line. They get the Dragon Soul, and Viper can choose. Do you go bot or do you go team fight? And he goes bot. They're sticking with the plan. Dignitas know what it takes to win, and they are sticking to the plan for the last 10 minutes. Viper push on the bot side. The rest of the team pushes 100 Thieves off of the river, and look, they're right back on. Dardoch is healing them back up. Aphromoo hates them around the map. Dignitas are playing this so well. Viper's going to knock down the inhibitor now. The 4-on-4 at Baron. Yes, Johnson's running out of mana. That means he has to be respectful a little bit more. But the inhibitor is gone, and Viper is still fighting Ssumday. Dignitas, I am happy to see this coming from you finally here at the last possible game of the regular season. The inhib is gone, the Dragon Soul is claimed, and Viper is doing so much work on this top lane Camille.
This is fantastic play from Dignitas here against 100 Thieves. They have been looking really, really good, and 100 Thieves felt so pressured that they couldn't actually answer on both sides that they just kind of went for this YOLO Baron, but they got poked off it immediately. You know, there still is a tremendous amount of damage that can come through from this Nidalee and from this Ezreal, so they're really kind of walking this line very effectively between committing to the Baron, you know, being close enough that 100 Thieves always has to respect that rush, and never actually being in range for the engage. They've dodged the Bard ults when they did come through. Poome has that up again, so they've got to be really careful about that. I think, honestly, one of my problems here with 100 Thieves and how they're playing this is it feels like Poome is going for the priority targets of Nidalee and Ezreal, who have abilities to actually get away from the ult. You need to just take Karma, someone who is going to have to expend the flash if you throw that ulti towards him. All right, 100 Thieves on the Baron, and it looks like Viper isn't coming.
They know Viper's bot side. They know they can ult in. They can go for this play. They are going to claim the Baron, and now it's Fenix in the front line. Tanky, but not tanky enough. He's going to go down. But they need to get back to base. Thankfully, Baron recalls are only half the duration. It's only 4 seconds. They will save their Nexus, and they finally group together. I wanted to see if the conversation could move to 100 Thieves. We know what the Dig game plan is. It's split you apart. It's send Viper to the side lane and just find the objectives. 100 Thieves need to get together as 5, shove the wave enough that they can group and pull somebody with the squad and take that fight. They found a fight. They found a Baron. They found a kill on Fenix. 100 Thieves. You must keep finding these aggressive plays.
And there's now nowhere for Dignitas to even bait them, right? So for the next couple minutes, Viper can't really split push that effectively because what do you threaten if people actually collapse over onto Viper? There's nothing on the map right now. You know, Elder is down, Baron is down, so you're going to have to be waiting for that next objective to come back up for them to be able to get into that type of position. We'll see if they want to try to contest here or just hope that Viper has enough threat to really make things happen on the side lane because their wave clear over on the Dignitas side is very poor in their 4-man squad. Viper just looking to ignore Ssumday here and just try to rush this down. We'll be able to knock that turret down. But what you want to see Ssumday doing, you know, if he gets in the same situation that he was in the bot lane, is actually step forward. Don't wave clear the minions at your tower. Walk out, clear the wave, lose a bunch of health while Viper is hitting you, but then back off, let the Warmogs regen up, and then do it all over again. You know, the Warmogs will heal you up every time for that wave. And if you allow Viper to come to the turret first, then he's not going to have backdoor protection. You know, the tower is not going to be focusing him, and he'll just shrug off your damage. So he has to play that a little bit differently, and we'll see if he can do that going forward.
Alrighty, here comes the attempted siege. Top lane pushed in. Top lane tier 2 can be the target, and still a minute left on the Baron buff. The gold difference is only 2,000. These comps have very opposite ideas of how to play the game, and whoever gets their way, it's not going to look close. So top lane is now being pushed down. Ez ult pops a barrier shield that talks down the minions a little bit, but now it's time to hit the inhibitor. And Fenix was in the bot lane. He needs to recall now, but it takes 8 seconds. The wave cleared enough that there is no more push, and 100 Thieves going to run back to the brush, and they're going to hit the recalls. They are done. They took a turret, and they're done. They've got to get back to mid lane. Mid lane tier 2 is gone. The exact same turret they killed was answered back by a Dardoch split push. Bot lane's got to be answered here. The Baron buff. I mean, it's not even any more gold than the Baron itself. They just can't get enough done as Dignitas just keep playing around the map.
It does feel like they're too hesitant to commit to something. Like, I feel like when you have Caitlyn, you can have your 4-man squad up there. Viper was in the base. Just send Ssumday down to the bottom lane. Fenix is not going to end the game as a full tank Sett. Ssumday had TP. There's no reason that he couldn't just been down there answering that side lane push while you siege with your 4-man squad. You have Caitlyn. That's what this is for. And Caitlyn, with this much damage in the kit, is going to blast through those towers. So I do think that it was a little bit of a mistake to not actually attempt to go for that play, to try to knock down the inhibitor. Because even the best engage is actually Fenix, and he couldn't really punish Cody Sun because he wasn't there.
Well, end of the day, we have a 2,500 gold difference, and Viper is back to the top side. Dignitas have 2 wards for him to spot the movement. You can see one in the Wolf Pit and one over in mid lane to watch the movements. Obviously, Cloud Drake gives him the passive move speed, and he can ult for a bunch more if needed. Cody Sun waits around. Is there a fight down here? Is he going for this turret? He is not. But if he did, you got to believe that Ssumday and Cody would combine for a likely kill. Mortal reminder, done on Caitlyn. Item builds are done for both AD carries. Viper over the wall wants to fight Ssumday straight up. One-on-one, one full item left to build on one side, and now you've got Dignitas coming back over. Viper gonna have to flash, he's gonna lose the GA. And is this the re-engage? They're sleeping Dardoch! They're gonna catch him, they're gonna get that kill, and they might get the next. Ulti comes in, he's got some move speed, he's got knocked up in the air though, and it's gonna be 100 Thieves who find the fight they needed. Elder Dragon's up in 10 seconds. Johnsun will not finish the turret in time. They will save this turret from Ryoma and Ssumday showing up, and he tries to go for the play. Looks for the flash bubble, he goes the other direction though, and Johnsun will stay alive. But you gotta believe Elder Dragon should go to 100 Thieves.
Almost guaranteed. They get 2 kills there. Dardoch dead, Viper dead. I don't see any chance to contest this without your jungler, without your split pusher. They really don't have anything going. And despite the fact that Dignitas have played a great game for a really long time, giving up the Baron, getting caught there and going down is putting 100 Thieves securely in the lead. Cody Sun is so strong at this point, so when he actually caught up to Viper, Viper goes down incredibly fast, and that was Viper's flash, that was Viper's GA, and now it is the Elder Dragon push, so there's no way the 100 Thieves are going to pull out of this one. They could potentially end the game with this type of push. It's so hard to actually fight into Elder Dragon.
Elder Dragon, and you want 5-on-5. Ssumday's only back up in 3 seconds. They're going to try as best they can, but they're running low on minions. They're going to be cleared out by Johnsun, so they cannot push any farther, at least not right now. The wave is gone. Good play by Aphro, chunks it down. He loses some health, but there's like a cannon minion left. So Aphro, good play. You did what you needed to do, but can you live? The question is, can you live? Viper pushes in the bottom side, but he's like, no, I think I need to recall. There could be a fight right now as Fenix is going to get attacked. He's not going to get caught just yet. They can't sleep him. They can't stun him. They can't knock him up. He's going to get away. And so, once again, into the bottom side. Viper pushes in the wave, but again has to say, well, what if they're coming around? Walks by a ward. This means 100 Thieves knows where he is. They know he's in the bottom jungle. They've recalled Cody Sun. He's not getting attacked. They knew where the Camille was roughly. And we will get another standstill. We're going to wait again. Elder Dragon on for 1:15. Baron alive in 10 seconds. But we know Viper wants to push back down bot side. Does not get spotted by the Scryer's Bloom. Dardoch gets a red buff. Doesn't mean a whole lot for him. Baron is back on the map, and Viper is ready to push in the bot side.
I'm surprised Dardoch even took that, to be honest. The red buff is great on Ezreal, so that seems pretty weird. But Viper fully committed to the split push. He actually TP'd down to bottom lane in the midst of that play when aphromoo was cutting the wave. So honestly, Aphro cutting that wave was massive. They do have Bart and Caitlyn down on that bot side, so if Viper mispositions, you can potentially catch him, but they are moving up towards this Baron now, and this is the window where Viper has got to get something done. He's got to draw someone to him because 100 Thieves are going to potentially start up the Baron just like they did last time, and if they do that, Dignitas has to decide, are we committing to the fight? Are we committing to the split push? Very early ulti just for wave clear here, but Viper doesn't know where people are. He has no vision, and he hasn't seen the bot lane in a really long time. I mean, look at their wards. Their wards are only on their side of the map. So he has to operate under the assumption that Bard is behind him, that Caitlyn is behind him. And as a result, he is really, really playing it far back. And Cody Sun is actually trailing Ssumday. He is hoping that Viper will see Ssumday, engage on him for a trade far outside of the base. And if he does that, he's likely dead to Cody.
Okay, he's going to try out. Cody hits a
Scryer's Bloom,
which you can actually, yeah, you can see it even in Fog of War. So they know someone else is over there. Said, okay, no one else is coming through. This is not, us getting baited into a 2v5, because that's a game loser if it happens. It's okay, out we go. Once again, playing around the side. Viper is TP-less. Ssumday will have his first. Ssumday's ultimate back as well. He's got 38 CDR to his ultimate right now, and now we got to see the push towards the Baron. They've got the team together. Dardoch, can you steal?
That's what it's down to, because Viper's not going to come fight. He might just be dead.
Afro's going to tank the shot. Ulti's not quite going to land from Graves. Can he go for the steal? He probably shouldn't even try. Spike comes through, but again, Viper is in the base. He's going to try to end it, and True Shot Barrage is going to stop all the recalls. Dardoch can land a Q. Luden's Echo's going to stop it again. You got to be kidding me. But he's not anywhere near. He doesn't have minions just yet. He's still not yet going for the
Fenix
end
is
game.
going.
Not just yet. Dardoch gets stunned up, but no one's recalling yet. Someone's got to get back. Someone's got to get back. They've got two. They brought in Johnsun. They're going for it now. Dignitas kept Viper in the lineup, and he won him the game. Dignitas are still in the running for playoffs.
What an ending! Johnsun hitting everyone with the True Shot Barrage there, stops every single recall. And then Dardoch with the jungle items, the Luden splash off of that, he had it charged up. So when he hits the spear, not only does he get the kill, but because that was back, it interrupts everyone. And then Fenix, full tank Sett, you're going through that barb portal. You don't care if you die at that point. Such small things making the difference there. If the jungle proc isn't up on that item, you know, if you don't have that Luden's proc splashing and interrupting those recalls, that probably gets stopped. If the Ezreal ultimate doesn't hit everyone, that probably gets stopped. Instead, Dignitas commit to the split push. They were bought into that plan. They make it happen. Johnsun TPing in at the end to close that one out. And that is going to be so frustrating for 100 Thieves. Their chances at making, you know, upper bracket and fighting for that more heavily do fall a little bit further away. And Dignitas keeps their playoff hopes alive here.
Yep.
What an ending.
It was great. The top lane Riverbrush giveth, and the top lane Riverbrush taketh away. They lost yesterday because of recalls getting stopped in that exact same brush. They won today because they did it back to their opponents. Credit to Dignitas. A great game plan, executed the whole way through. Good job to you getting the counter pick. Said, you know, we're going to trust Viper into Ssumday. You will outscale the counter pick matchup, and it will work for you. Good job. They are alive, but they need CLG to lose. They need Immortals to win not more than one game. Now it's time for us to step away. When we return, we will have the Verizon post-game interview with Johnsun.
Absolute banger.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to the Verizon post-game interview. Dignitas emerging victorious after that game against 100 Thieves, and to speak on the matter, I have Johnsun. First of all, a very strong performance on Ezreal from you this game, and being that both the bot laners were performing strong, I want to get your thoughts on how you felt about your performance here today.
I think I did pretty fine this game, but I say like Afro and my team's like helping me play well, so I got like a lane advantage bot lane. So I was able to like perform. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you're talking about how your teammates were able to play a role in this, and it did feel like Dignitas was very cohesive this time around. A very clear game plan of trying to split the map, though there was a chaotic ending. So how did you and everyone manage to keep Dignitas in it, even when things started to get really frisky in the late game?
Our Camille was pretty fed this game, so we were able to like 1-3-1 or like 4-1, and then the Ornn can like handle Viper on the side, so they'll try to like just constantly like push him outside and then group mid, and then we made like a big mistake on the top where we just inted, like 2 people died and then they got Baron out there, so then the game was kind of whack afterwards. But the only win condition was like split push or like backdoor. I'd say that's what we did.
In a lot of the Dignitas content recently, you and some of the teammates were talking about working on the consistency, how it feels like when you're all on, you're super on, but can't find that moment all the time. Do you care to elaborate upon that, or what you've been working on as a collective to try and improve in that sense?
Yeah, like we're not really consistent on like playing really well. Like we have like random int moments, like individual mistakes across the board. Our drafts are not ideal sometimes. Then when bad things happen, we just keep tilting, I say, which is why it's pretty hard for us to be at the top of our game most of the time.
But in the end, you did come out with a victory here today, which means that your fate is now tied to CLG, basically, with the potential of a tiebreaker. How much faith do you have in CLG potentially getting the victories over their matches, or going against FlyQuest and Cloud9 in the future?
I'm friends with some people on FLICKR, so I hope they got me this time compared to last split. And we threw our game against C9, so I hope they perform for the boys.
We'll have to see how it all goes down. Johnsun, thanks so much for speaking with me.
Thank you.
Great seeing your development throughout this year thus far, and we do want to dive a bit deeper into this game. So with that, let's send things over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you, Latigris. Dignitas pulling off the victory over 100 Thieves. Baron for base trade to end it all and to keep their postseason hopes alive. That is the kicker right there. This makes the rest of the weekend that much more interesting.
What a way to end the game out of them, because for almost beating C9 in a normal fashion to struggling against the Thieves and being able to come up with a backdoor win. And we're just going to go through a little bit of a highlight reel of how this game unfolded, because it was long, action-packed, and we actually didn't really know who was going to win until the end.
Oh, I'm receiving word that Mark, unfortunately, his audio is dead for the moment, so probably I'm going to hand it off to you. Walk us through the rest of this.
Okay, I'm basically going to talk for Mark right now. He was saying that, you know, the best analyst on the desk was Probably, and that only Probably could see that Dignitas had a really good early lead this game, and they did a really good job of splitting up the map later in the game. Here's Afro making a monster play, even though he's not on a playmaker, flashes on the Bard trap, or on the Caitlyn trap to save his buddy, but turns out that he had QSS the whole time. But the way that Dig played around Baron was so impressive, letting Viper split, opening up the map, and this ended up being their win condition, because even now, 100 Thieves got the Elder, they have the Baron, and then this is the Spear that ends the game.
Oh, the Luden's proc of all Luden's procs. That is a glorious thing. You even see Viper there when that hits. So, oh, that's my go-ahead to go right back into the base and put an end to this. Almost felt like here, 100 Thieves, you know, caught in the moment, you know, needing to back, but I feel like Cody should have just, you know, stood his ground, killed Fenix, maybe base sooner, who knows.
Yeah, that's one of like the high intense situations. Like, it looks really easy when you're not in it, but when you're playing the game, it's hard to make those. There, Cody had to kill the Fenix as fast as possible and hope he had enough DPS and then TP back. Because even when we saw Dignitas contesting that Baron, we've seen teams play 4-1 split pushes and then overgreed for the Baron and lose the game. So Dignitas played that kind of intense situation really well, and that time 100 Thieves didn't.
Yeah, it's always hard to know. I believe I'm back. We'll see if producer gets in my ears.
You said a lot of nice things about me.
Tell me to shut up. Yeah, I was giving the best analysis you've ever heard, but you just couldn't hear me. I was going to say, though, the end-of-game situations are tough, but I think people doing group recalls like that in situations, they need to be smarter about that part. Knowing, do I kill this guy or not, that's the difficult thing. But letting a 4-man Ezreal hit you, and then a 4-man's Luden proc hit you, like, you can't all
kill one.
And kill one. Like, you can't all try and recall in the same bush. That, you should know a little bit more. Someone go over the wall. Someone do this, like split up a little bit to get at least 1 or 2 recalls off.
Yeah, let's talk about a few more things. First, an individual who performed well, Dignitas' Johnsun. Again, so much of this split has been focused on a lot of the newcomers and how they've leveled up. 5-0-2 is his KDA this time around. How do we feel about this guy as we approach the last game of the split?
I think he's the best pickup that Dignitas made all year long. At the start of the year, this guy signing NA talent, putting him with aphromoo, I really enjoy seeing how the bottom lane has evolved. And this time around, it wasn't with aphromoo on the playmaker, like Probably mentioned. He actually was on Karma to help out Johnsun even more with a strong laning phase, with priority with the bans. You set him up to succeed, and he delivers constantly. So I just want to see how far can you go in putting resources in Johnsun, and what can he deliver?
Now, more importantly, this result here had huge standings implications. So we're going to pull those up to give everyone a picture of where the teams stand. Yes, only 1 game in the books for the day, but you can see there Dignitas now at 5-13. They are hoping for CLG to lose out the rest of the weekend. If CLG drops 2 games, they will be tied at 5-13. So that means all of you who are fans of Dignitas are now fans of the teams that CLG is going up against.
Your CLG haters.
Yeah, your CLG haters, your FlyQuest and C9 fans. There's a high likelihood that that CLG could drop those 2 games. We are going to step away, though. When we return, we got that matchup between Golden Guardians and Evil Geniuses coming your way.
And we've upgraded her with the Sonic Shield and holographic mapping drones.
Impressive.
There is one more thing.
Jake from State Farm.
Here's the deal. With the Drive Safe and Save app, you'll save up to 30% for being a safe driver and get a discount just for signing up.
Well played, Jake from State Farm. As usual.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.